The other day it was raining pretty hard and I'm sitting in traffic in my Trailblazer. Then all of a sudden I hear something go kaplunk. I thought, what's that noise? And all of a sudden it felt like I had rain coming in, hitting me in the back, and I turned around and what'd you know? The old back window and the Trailblazer went boom, all the way down inside the door. So I'm not sure what happened. I hit the motor button and the motor runs. You can hear something going on in there. It's crunch, crunch, crunch. And I think what's happened, the wire cables that put the window up and down that spin around have probably gotten stripped off the motor or something. So we're going to take this panel off today and go ahead and pull this motor off. I'm going to go ahead and go to the junkyard and get something that is a little bit cheaper. I can get one online, but it's going to take about a week to get here. And I can go to my local parts store, junkyard, I should say, and get one for about 10 bucks. And I might add, this is pretty common on these Trailblazers. The windows do go bad and you got to replace the motor. The motor is not what actually goes bad. It's the gear on the motor where this cable kind of goes around and it spins. That thing usually gets stripped out. And when it gets stripped out, the weight of the window just kind of goes down and falls so far down in there, you can't get it back out. I had some sticks in there and some tape, but that did not work very long. It just fell down in there. So we're going to take this door panel off here and replace it. It's pretty easy to do. We got to take a little screwdriver here, and there's a panel cover here we got to take off. We got a couple screws right there we got to take off, and then good measure is to go ahead and take this cover piece off around this button here, the window button. I don't know if someone's worked on this before, but that seemed like it was a little easy to get off. And I'm going to take my screwdriver here and pry up on this guy here, kind of pull this up out of here. We'll just disconnect this whole wiring harness. It just makes it a little bit easier, and you can see how wet it is still from all the rain we had, but I'm sure it's still okay. We had about 2 inches of rain last night, so you know that old saying, when it rains it pours, right? So we get this off right there. That is, put this off the side. Boy, as you can see in there, she is wet still. Oh boy. So we got that out of the way. Now we'll go ahead and pop these screws off. And we'll go ahead and pop these screws off. These are 7mm screws. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that's all wet. Your speaker's probably no good. Well, the speaker didn't work to begin with. We dealt with that in an earlier video. Alright, those are out of the way. And now we got to take this cover ring here off. Alright, this is not too bad, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to break one of these little clips that hold this on. So what we got to do is take that little screwdriver there, and we got to push around the inside. And as you do, you push back on these little guys here. That's the whole idea. This actually clips on to this piece here around the door. And how about that? I got all that off without breaking any of those. That's a good day. So we got that off. And now our door panel was ready to come off. Now if you have a plastic spud bar, that'll work great, but I just have a regular screwdriver for now. And you can see this door panel's already loose. What we got to do is just kind of pop this off. I'm going to have to set the camera down and do that. Should be pretty easy to do. Alright, so we got that. Don't be alarmed if a couple of your clips decide to fall off. This is pretty typical. You can buy these, by the way, at AutoZone or any auto parts place. But if you go on eBay, you can get these by the hundreds for next to nothing, so be aware of that. Now this whole panel is loose. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. Hey, how about that? So there's the panel. And still a lot of water in there, but all my clips are still on. Even that one is still there. And there's the other one. And those two go right there, so we're in good shape. So there is that, and here's what we got to do next. Go ahead and pull this insulation, whatever you want to call it, noise stuff off here. Get this off the way. And there's the window, and wow, did it fall in there. I am so lucky it didn't break. There's the motor we got to replace. It looks pretty straightforward. We got to take, let's see. We got to take a bolt off on the top here. Let me just set the camera down here and kind of get this set up for you. Here is our window. I've got it pulled up a little bit, but you see it will not stay up. And if you look closely right here, here is one end of the cable wire that's broken. And you can see if you look closely here, there's a bunch of wire twisted around right there. This thing's all messed up. it's all messed up. So that's what happened to it. So like I said, I'm glad the window is okay. So let's go ahead and swap this out. All right, so we got to get the speaker out of the way. Pretty easy to do. Take these two bolts out. They're 7mm, because there is a bolt behind that plastic right there that actually holds this track. So we have to take this out of the way, get this out of the way in order to get that off. Actually, we got one more right down here we gotta get off. And now we'll kind of set this down here. And these speakers are no good. I'm going to actually get a couple. One, hook this clip here, or if you want, if you're not going to be driving a vehicle, you just kind of leave it hang there if you want. And there's a bolt we have to take out there, and there's one right here, and there's a couple of bolts right here, and there's one on the other side that we have to take off right there to get this released out of the window, so we can just kind of pull this the whole track and motor out. Alright, so that's out of the way. I may actually see if they have one at the junkyard, because I know a lot of times these speakers are no good even at the junkyard. You can see the rust. No protection whatsoever there for the moisture. And now, all we have to do is start taking 4 bolts off here, and this wiring harness here for the motor. I may have to set the camera down to do that real quick. Set the camera down. Alright, so that's out of the way. You got this wiring harness here. Just kind of move it out of the way because it's part of this motor bracket right there. So now what we got to do is go ahead and take 2 bolts out on this window. It's just kind of hanging there. This thing may slide down on me while I'm doing this. These are little tins. Take these nuts off. And this is actually holding this piece of plastic here, kind of gripping that glass. So it's to loosen that up fairly well. Now we're going to slide the window down here a little bit more. And get to that one there. Hey, if you're liking this video right now and you got a Trailblazer or an Envoy that's giving you a window problem, give me a thumbs up. Alright, so we'll loosen this up. Now if I let go of this, it should drop down on its own. There we go. See? And our glass is basically hanging by itself in the track. Now you want to be careful. You can get your piece of wood and kind of prop this glass up a little bit. Just kind of hold it there while you're working on the rest of this. But I'm just going to kind of let that hang there because I've got enough stuff, tape, glue on that window left that's actually kind of holding it up. Alright, so we got that loose, and now we got to go ahead and pop 1, 2, 3 screws off, and this whole window track motor assembly should come out. So let me see if I'm right. Alright, so there's the first one. And I've got a block of wood here kind of holding that window up a little bit, because I'm actually going to drive this to the junkyard. It's only about 3 miles from where I'm at. There's our second bolt. Oops, almost dropped it. Working with one hand and holding the camera with the other. I'm getting pretty good at this. Here comes our last one, and it's probably going to just fall out of there. Alright, we got that, and you can see the whole thing here is loose now. And now what we're going to do is kind of get this out. So I'm probably going to have to use both hands here because this piece of wood is kind of in the way, but you get the idea. We'll fish this out here. Alright, we got it. Wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad. And there's the whole motor and assembly. And you can see right here where this is actually pulled out of its housing. And this piece here that goes down here pulled out of the window. And if you look closely, you see some wire right there. Kind of, it's all wrapped around right there. So if you put your glass all the way up as far as you can, and mine's still stinging, I can see all that glue on there. It's kind of keeping it up, and that's all there is to it. So all we got to do now is go to the junkyard and pick up our new track, our window assembly, and put it back together. So I'll see you back here shortly. Okay, boys and girls, we are back from the junkyard, and here is our new one. Picked it up for $10. No, I didn't go to Pick and Pull. That's just a bag I've had. Although I need to go there. The closest one to me is $160 70 miles, I believe. Anyway, here is the motor. And by the way, I picked up a couple of speakers for the door, and they don't work either. They just gave those to me. I just wanted to test them, but just tells you about these Trailblazers. None of the door speakers work. They're cheap. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and stick this in. It's going to be pretty easy to do. Do yourself a favor. At the junkyard or before you go to install this, make sure that it works. Just kind of hook it up here. Plug this wire in, and let's just test it real quick. Okay, that should do. We got our switch here hooked up temporarily, and let's just see if this thing works. Oh, yes. Good deal. So all we got to do is go ahead and stick it in here. So I'm not going to show you how to put it in. Obviously, it's pretty easy to put back in. You tuck it out, and we'll come back here and wrap this video up, and hopefully this will help you guys out. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. To some of you, this might be a little intimidating, but it's not. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes to do this entire job. That's not including going to the junkyard. So what you got to do is just make sure your window's pushed all the way up, like that, and just simply grab this. Go at an angle like this, shove it up in there. Actually, what you want to do is kind of bend it back like that. Put that cable in first. Drop it in like this. Drop the bottom in. Turn it like that. And go ahead and bolt everything up. Shove this on the bottom of the glass, or you can just kind of drop the glass down. Whatever makes you happy. But with two hands, it's a lot easier. And start bolting everything back up, and you are good to go, my friend. I'll show you some basic steps. So we got that bolt tight, that one tight. By the way, these are 10 millimeter, and this one's tight. And now this piece here, if you can, when you get your motor and stuff, just kind of put it back about halfway on the track. You know, hook the switch up and roll it down. And all you gotta do is slide your glass in like this. And all you gotta do is put your bolts back on here. We'll lower it a little bit, and we'll put our 2 bolts back on, and we'll hook up a few little things here. And we are done, my friend. And you will become a master at fixing. So let me go ahead and wrap this up. You can see here I kind of dropped the motor down a little bit. We put our 2 bolts back on here. I wish Ford would have thought of this, especially on those Expeditions. They just have a piece of metal going to the glass. At least Chevrolet thought about putting a clamp here with rubber. That's a very good idea. So that's all done there. And all we gotta do is put the motor up and down, test it, and make sure when you put this on here, make sure you'll probably see some old watermarks. Make sure you kind of get it centered, the glass. That way when it goes up and down, there's no bind. And let's see if this baby works now. Oh yes. Perfect. All right. I like it when a plan comes together. So before I put the panel on, I got 3 speakers here. None of them work. I can actually measure these, so I'm going to stick the old one back in. Probably go on eBay and measure these and maybe get some replacements. But other than that, we are done here. And here is the old motor. I'm going to pull it apart real quick and show you that I keep these old motors. You can swap these around on different Trailblazers, and they will work, providing your motor's not locked up. But the rest of this track is pretty much done. Okay, there's a final look at it. It's all done. Now make sure you clean your glass off really good. If you have any glue or anything on there from previously, kind of trying to keep it up, because you want this motor to spin and bring this glass up and down effortlessly, because it will drag on these gutter pieces of plastic down here. So make a note of that. Other than that, we're done. It works really good. I got the key off right now, but I wanted to show you the old motor. We took out 3 screws on the back side. Here is the motor, and you can see the cable that's down in there. It got destroyed. This is why this one failed. Not supposed to look like that. By the way, the cable's getting longer as I kind of... Oh, there, it just came apart. So there's why it failed. Yikes. But nevertheless, like I said, I keep the motor. The motor's still good. You can use these motors in a lot of vehicles, GM vehicles still. So, but anyway, so we're done with the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial, and hopefully this will help you out. And if it did, give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, because you never know when you might need a little advice, because we all like to help each other on YouTube, right? That's what it's all about. And until my next video, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.